So let's get to our next guest. Our next guest is returning to our show. And yes, it's a theme, 2 door gunners. That's a pretty good thing. We're ready. All we need is some pilots and we're ready to go. I mean, we're set here. So we have our 2 awesome door gunners, and we're going to go to our next one. Lisa Bodenburg, United States Marine, will join us again. So Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hey, me.
How are you doing today?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing it. It's good to see you again. And, you know, how's it feel following up after Kirsty? I mean, you both have the same MOS, both served in the Corps. I mean, it's pretty badass, right?
She's wonderful. I mean, I don't even feel like I should be speaking after that. That's a hard act to follow. She's absolutely incredible, and she's just extremely inspirational. And she just reminds me that, you know, sometimes even while I'm thinking about my struggles, I'm like, man, you know, I can do this. She can do it. She's leading the way. I can do this too. And, you know, I hope that everyone takes that message away from her, because that's what she's trying to inspire. And she's wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, I believe, I mean, you and I are both, you know, Marines. So she really lives that motto, tip of the spear, right? She is truly leads the way for us all. It doesn't matter if you were a Marine or served. I mean, just watching her and everything, she's so selfless. When you would think, with everything she's been through, losing her leg, in fact, what people don't know is that she attempted to take her own life less than a year after her accident. And her father was also a United States Marine, and he told her, "What the hell are you doing? Like, really? The enemy couldn't bring you down. A helicopter couldn't bring you down, but you're going to bring yourself down? Get up." Which is, you know, you got to love the Marine mentality, is like, get up off your ass and let's go to work. And, you know, you don't only have that minute to feel sorry for yourself. And I think she did a fabulous job driving that home. So let's jump into mental health. I know we grazed over it. We were talking with Kirsty, but when it comes to mental health, and I think it's important to understand, you can't really see the symptoms of somebody who's suffering through mental health, right? You can't tell if somebody's depressed. I mean, how can you, what advice do you give to people who have their chin down? I asked this question to Kirsty. I'm going to ask it to you. What advice are you giving to folks with their chin down? Everything sucks. They've been told they're going to be locked down for another 30 days. What are you telling folks that you're around how to keep their chin up?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because it really truly is up to us. And unfortunately, we live in a society where we're told what to do, we're told what to think, and people may not want to admit that, but it's very true. A lot of that comes from the media, and, you know, we all have a television in our homes, and everything that they're telling us, we start to then think, and then we start to then act on those thoughts as well. So somebody who has their chin down, first and foremost, just stop. You gotta put the brakes on, you know, pull out all the stops and recognize you don't have to have your chin down. You may have reasons why you're feeling those feelings, and they're valid. I don't want to take away from that. They're absolutely valid, and you're allowed to feel those feelings. However, recognize the amazing things that you have to be grateful for. I always tell people, have 3 things in the morning that you start to write down to be grateful for. They can be very simple, as clean drinking water, food to eat, and a roof over your head. And if you're watching this right now, you have some sort of device that's connecting you to the internet, that's allowing you to watch this episode right here. So there really are so many things that we can be grateful for. And when you start to pivot your mind and think from that perspective and start to act from a place of gratitude, you can totally change your circumstances.
Outstanding. I mean, it's so true. I'm laughing because I'm getting a lot of comments right now, and I have to tell you, everybody's like, holy crap, this is how you start a show with 2 badass Marines that are, you know, I mean, they're like, seriously, really? Where do you, I mean, people are motivated. You're inspiring people. And this is, to me, I mean, everything you said was mic drop, right? But to me, it's the traffic from what we hear going on in the background, people talking about how you inspire people. How does that transgress to you as your mission? I think a lot of us, when we get out of the military, almost as we get out of the Corps, like we're just having some Marine conversation here, you know, as we get out of the military, you know, people like struggle with the way that they look at themselves, right? But when you're able to help other people, you know, I believe service never ends. I believe my oath, which ended a long, long time ago in a galaxy long, long away. Most of you were, I mean, I hate to say this, but some of you weren't even born or were like 1 when I enlisted, which scares me. Like, I don't even want to know how old you were in 1994. So let's just leave it at that. You're like, I wasn't even around yet.
But track.
All right, I get close. But I mean, how does it make you feel helping others? Right? Serving others is an amazing feeling. Instead of being where you want to be able to pull back on yourself, you're like, look, I mean, and you could, as a veteran, you could have the mentality, I serve my country, I'm done. I don't want to help anybody else. I'm good. I did my service. And I know people that are like that. There's nothing wrong with that. More power to you. But how does it make you feel helping others and serving others?
Yeah, for me, Eric, it has been my driving force and my driving factor. And many of us who joined the military, especially post 9/11, we knew exactly what we were doing when we were signing up. We were signing up in a time of war. We knew in our bones that we wanted to serve and that we were meant to serve. And that does not stop after you get out. And quite frankly, that can be the number one cause of mental stress and other mental health disorders when we're getting out. The Marine Corps and the military in general, we can do a better job at transitioning our veterans out. If you think about it in reverse, when you go into the military, you have to go through a boot camp, correct? Why is it not the same when you get out? Because when you go through boot camp, they are breaking you down and rebuilding you and reprogramming you in the way that they want you to act. The same thing is necessary on the reverse, coming out of the military. We don't do a good enough job. We do not serve our veterans well enough and prepare them with the tools and equip them properly in order to get out of the military in a healthy manner. Because that door shutting right away, that just quick change when you have to go from your whole life is service and dedicated to now what? And many people don't recognize that you can still continue to serve. And that has been paramount for me. When I was struggling so badly with depression and when I was on the brink of suicide, that's the one thing that helped pull me out when I finally was able to get on the other side of that is service. And it still helps me to this day. I still struggle with depression. I'm still struggling with, finding that boundary of between, happiness and peace. But when I'm helping others, when I'm serving others, selfishly, that helps me. And I am very open and honest about that. I love to serve others and I love to help others. But also the reason why is because selfishly it helps me as well. So I know that when I'm inspiring other people, that's going to get me motivated. And sometimes that's what gets me to the gym. You know me and being in health and fitness, I 100% believe in the power of health and fitness and what it can do for our brains and our bodies. So I know I have days like everyone else that I don't want to go to the gym, right? But if I realize that when I'm going to the gym, I'm inspiring other people, that in turn is going to pull me to the gym and get me motivated to working out. Because you're not likely going to do something for yourself, but you're more likely able to do something when you know it's going to serve others. And that's just true and it's inherently true for the vast majority of us.
That's so true. I love the way you say that is you have to think about outside, right? What makes you feel good is what makes you feel good. But as you become an influencer and people follow you and you have this public business, it's very fun to, be able to motivate others while they're out there and do their thing. So that's what I enjoy hearing is you're able to go tell people to do that and get your own butt off the couch. And I've kind of coined this little funny phrase called discipline over distraction because it's so easy to get distracted, right? You could get caught up in doing something. Trust me, between running a business, having kids, having a TV show, and trying to do all these other things, and still I do binge watch stuff. Trust me, I am guilty of Netflix as anybody else is. Trust me, it's hard not to be. Disney Plus also, the Beastie Boys documentary and Last Dance for the Michael Jordan thing. Come on, it's just filling my queue up. But one of the things you touch on, and let's go back to it, because mental health to me has never been such on the forefront as now, right? We've always talked as veterans, as any one of you I'll bring on a Thursday, we'll talk about we struggle with. Most of us have a suicide attempt under our belt, which is nothing to brag about, but to me, it's almost a badge of courage that we got to the lowest point and we know where the bottom is and we know how to get higher up, right? That's kind of what we do. Where do we take this now with the general public has had it, right? They've seen celebrities We've lost some great rock musicians to suicide because they couldn't handle it. Linkin Park, just countless others. Of course, the veteran community with our 22 or more a day. And then we've lost athletes to it. And then we have people like Kevin Love who come on and talk about mental disorders and how he struggles with it, and suicide and depression. Now we have everybody kind of, again, shooting on the same basket dealing with this. People are depressed, and you're starting to see suicides be reported, doctors and ERs and such. How can people prevent that? What's a healthy method to prevent taking yourself from that dark space and kind of find the way to the light? And it includes who to call and reach out to and all those things. Please share that.
And that's fantastic. I'm actually so grateful to hear how much it has become talked about now, because before, I can remember as a child, that was a very do not touch topic. You don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. You don't talk about it. If you hear about it, it's something that is kind of swept under the rug and nobody talks about it. That only makes the problem worse. So the fact that we are talking about it and we are bringing it to light, and people have the courage to talk about it and stand up, even against all odds, other people may be judging them for it. That's fantastic, because the very first step is to be able to talk about it. When you don't talk about it, you're only creating more problems for yourself. You're only digging that hole deeper, because then you start to get in your own head and you almost think that you're crazy and that this is insane, and you're not having these thoughts and things like that. So just the fact that you're able to talk about it is huge, and it should be that way. Going from there, now that you're talking about it, you want to also ensure that you're getting the help that you need. If you have to reach out to certain people, if you have to get help with by seeing a psychologist or a therapist, I'm a huge proponent of that. Even if you think that you're healthy 100% and there's no issues going on in your life, every single person has issues. It doesn't have to mean you're all the way down in the dumps and you're thinking about suicide. It could just be your normal everyday life. But mental health is just as important as our physical health. So if you're going to go to the doctors for a checkup, why wouldn't you go to a therapist for a checkup as well? So I highly encourage that. And of course, fitness and nutrition. There's a huge connection between our brains and our guts. And I don't want to go too in depth with that, because that's a whole show in itself. But if you're feeding your gut properly and you're feeding your body healthy foods, you're literally going to be happier. So serotonin is created in the gut. It's the happy hormone. And many people don't recognize the connection between our guts and our brains and our mental health. Everyone knows by now that if you get a great workout in, if you go outside, you get a walk, you get your heart rate up, you feel better. You usually feel happier, right? That's also along the same lines of those releasing those happy hormones. The same thing goes for our guts. You see those people all the time. It's on movies that when, somebody gets broken up with, they go and they sit on their couch and they get out the Ben & Jerry's and they're eating their ice cream and they're eating their feelings away. But if you think about it, that doesn't actually make you feel better. That actually makes you feel worse. So what you want to do is eat healthy and eat properly, because when you're feeding your gut properly, you're going to feel better as well. So talking about it, getting the help that you need and the support in no matter what aspect that is, and then just taking care of your body physically and mentally.
Outstanding. That's sound advice. I mean, I love it, because it's all things that you need to take into consideration and not be afraid. I know people back in the day were afraid to go to a therapist and talk about their situation. And I know some veterans struggle with it too. I see Tony Campbell here, a Navy veteran, wrote in and said, one of the hardest, and I totally agree. I think anything with the VA is frustrating, but calling the suicide hotline and listening to this automated message, because it's just horrible. And if you haven't done it, if you're out there and you're like, you hear all of our nightmares about the VA and you're a civilian, call the VA, call the hotline, go through what we go through, put yourself in our shoes of this is supposed to be here to protect us, and it causes more. I mean, for years, we've had a rash of suicide in the parking lot of VAs, with vets being told, oh, come back in 6 weeks for your mental health crisis. You'll be okay. Breathe in and out. That's always the part. But anyways, Lisa, it's been great having you. I got to get to the next guest. We'll have you back on again, because I want to keep deep diving into this topic. And
Eric, I can't hear you anymore.
Oh, that's not good. Well,
I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear
I
you
can hear
anymore.
you.
I'm sorry.
So we still have you. So that's what we have. We'll bring Lisa back. So thank you for joining the show, and we'll see you real soon.